So my name is John Kozner. For 15 years, I ran digital media at ESPN. Today, I'm a consultant with sports tech startups, an investor and an advisor. And through that work, I've had the privilege of being at this conference since the very beginning. And it is awesome to see what's going on this week. So congratulations to Jody, Cameron, and their team for the amazing growth of NFT.NYC. In sports tech, there is no more exciting development than sports and NFTs, and we have assembled a terrific panel to bring you all up to speed on the latest and greatest. So let's meet our panelists. Starting on the left, Scott Lowen, CEO of Candy Digital Inc., a next-generation sports and culture digital asset platform, which is a joint venture between Galaxy Digital and Fanatics. Candy Digital provides authentic objects and experiences that deepen fan engagement and connect people to their passions. Company is based here in New York. Prior to launching Candy, Scott has worked at the intersection of tech and finance, including stints at Moore Capital, Fortress, and Goldman Sachs. And to my left is Yang Adija. He's a Senior Vice President, Digital League Operations, Growth, and Innovation for Turner Sports in Atlanta. Among other responsibilities, Yang has built and manages NBA Digital, including the NBA app, NBA.com, and NBA TV. Turner is a significant player in sports NFTs. At the NBA All-Star Game last March, Bleacher Report dropped an NFT collection with some of the top hip-hop artists. Earlier, in the fall of 2020, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, Turner Sports launched Blockleet Games with Blockleet Golf, and they sold more than 2,000 NFTs in its first year. To my right, Sam Fagan, Director of Digital Assets and Currencies for Checkout.com, a global payments platform that services enterprise and cryptocurrency clients. Previously, Sam was head of global strategic partnerships for Coin Payments, which is a leading cryptocurrency payments processor. And before that, Sam was a player agent at GSE Worldwide and Roc Nation and helped launch the Tidal Music title streaming platform. Finally, we have an Olympic swimmer here, Calvin Justice, world champion swimmer. He's a model, and he's an artist. He's already sold 3 NFT collections this year. Justice competed at the 2016 Summer Olympics, and then he won 4 medals at the 2018 Commonwealth Games. His first piece of digital art was related to swimming, and he just released his third. He's a native of South Africa, and he now lives in Los Angeles. So as we get started, we're going to start with you, Scott. Why the joint venture with Fanatics? Why that structure, and why that partnership between Galaxy Digital and Fanatics?
Sure. So Candy was really born at Galaxy Digital. Galaxy is sort of the leading merchant bank in the blockchain and crypto space. And as my partners and I were thinking about, where did we see blockchain, distributed ledger, sort of moving out of the crypto space and the DeFi space into mass market, sports was just a natural extension. Global customers, passionate fan communities, and a sports collectibles business that was very large, growing, and sort of turbocharged by COVID. And so as we thought about, how do we enter into that space, Galaxy brings sort of the crypto tech and crypto community. Fanatics, which is the largest sports e-commerce retailer on the planet, was a natural partner. Fanatics has great relationships with leagues, teams, and athletes, and 83 million customers who are passionate about their teams, passionate about their players, and a tremendous amount of data that we could tap into and really start to think about how do we extend this space from the crypto community into the mass market.
And why start with baseball and NASCAR racers?
So we got started in the end of 2020, at a time we sort of like to say, other than if you're in the crypto community, very few people knew how to spell NFT, right? And so if you're trying to educate people on digital assets who are everyday baseball fans, that wasn't necessarily going to be something that was an easy lift. Top Shot obviously exploded in the beginning of the year, along with the Beeple auction and the entire space. And so as we went around and talked to the leagues and talked to the teams, there's a lot of education to do. What was blockchain? How did it work? What were NFTs? What does it mean to own a unique digital asset? And Major League Baseball has a history of being a leader in the sports space around tech. They've built a lot of the leading tech and actually spun out a business called MLBAM. And so they had sort of been to the rodeo before around new technology and around fan engagement. And what they realized was, rather than trying to enter the market in a number of different places, they wanted to find one partner that they could work with to build a business together over time. And so baseball, in a lot of ways, is sort of tailor-made for the space. It's a sport that has a lot of different games during the course of the season, a lot of players, and it's really the core of sports collectibles. And so, that our discussion about what the opportunities were, not really just from a commercial perspective, but really from a fan engagement perspective, is kind of what put that deal together.
That's awesome. Yang, you follow a great tradition here. The last couple of sports panels we've had So Rare, and last time we had Zed Racing. So tell the audience a little bit about Blocklead Games, the launch, what's behind it.
Yeah, no, we're really excited about the space, and Blocklead Games, what we're looking to do is bring play to earn and interactivity to the sports space. Our focus is heavily on how do we make sure that as users come in and play in games that they benefit and grab value from it. And so with Blocklead Games, our first one is a golf-based game. What Blocklead Games is, it's essentially you come in and you'll have a Blocklead athlete, a NFT, so a blockchain athlete. And you can level up the athlete within the game. And in the game experience, continue to obviously win prizing and everything else as you would within a normal game. But in addition to that, we are building a NFT ecosystem, an economy within there, so that users benefit within it. So one of the things that we'll be launching, we are actually launching the game within the week here. You can go to our website and you'll be able to see the continue to buy the Blocklead athletes, and then go to our Discord channel so that you can get into the closed beta that we'll be doing within the next week in the App Store. And the economy within the game that we're looking to do will allow users to eventually own pro shops and sell and interact and engage with users directly, peer-to-peer. And that's the whole idea of creating sort of an ecosystem that is enabled within a sports environment, and we'll be expanding to other games, other sports in the coming year as well. So we're excited about that.
So without tipping off what's next, it is going to be a multi-sport environment that you contemplate, right?
It will be a multi-sport. We're actually we want to be able to build and now I'm going to hesitate in saying this, but we want to build a sports metaverse. We want to have that ecosystem that you can go to whichever sport you engage with. You can actually do that with us within Blocklead Games.
That's cool. So what's sort of fascinating about this period of time is all of the technology that has to happen simultaneously to make possible the fascinating developments that Scott and Yang are talking about. So that's part of where Checkout.com fits in. Talk a little bit about that, Sam, with the role that it's going to play with sports NFTs.
Yep, most definitely. So at Checkout.com, we're focused on the payment processing side of things. So on the exchange side, we're providing fiat on and off for a lot of big exchanges, but on the NFT marketplace side, we're servicing folks such as Socios, such as Rally, such as Nifty, and we're providing the payment processing. So when you're buying an NFT, you're using our gateway and our payment processing to ultimately process these payments. And then when you're looking to ultimately sell the NFT and then send the funds back to your bank account, we're the technology behind the payment processing side of these marketplaces.
So you are an entrepreneur. You're one of the youngest agents I've ever met. How did that experience? You worked on Tidal. How did that experience sort of inform, your point of view, your desire to sort of be in this industry, and you see the developments going on here?
Yep. So just representing some athletes on the baseball side, IP, name, image, and likeness was always a major issue. So there were a lot of times where brands would have a billboard in the middle of Houston with one of my athlete clients on that billboard. How do we prove that Gatorade has the rights to ultimately use his name, image, and likeness in some of these campaigns? The ability of smart contracts and what it enables is to be able to embed business logic, ownership, which is revolutionary, and being able to now have NFTs come into play where these athletes are now interacting directly with their fans, and their fans now have equity in these networks is so powerful. So I think we're really at the starting gate. I don't know if we've really even broken the tape yet as to what this technology is going to do for artists, athletes, musicians. So it's super exciting.
So Calvin, prior to really the development of blockchain, a terrific young athlete, an Olympic athlete, there aren't that many places to go once your competitive career ends. But you're an artist, you had a passion for something else. How did you sort of manage that transition from being a world-class amateur swimmer to what you're doing now?
Yeah, to be honest, I've always kind of tried to walk my creative life hand in hand with my athletic life. I think athletes that tend to put all their eggs in one basket, to say, it kind of gets dangerous. I think it's important to always have an outlet or a passion outside of sport. Just keeps you sane, honestly. So for me, that was always creative stuff. I was always documenting our travels, vlogging the Olympic Games, things like that. So in January, when I started hearing about NFTs and blockchain and what Sam's saying about IP and protecting athletes and engaging more with fans, etc., that really struck a chord with me, and that was something that it clicked in my mind, like I'm sure it has for most of you guys, and it was like, this is the change, this is what we need to have more authentic communication between athletes and their supporters and between leagues and their supporters. So yeah, I think the creative world's honestly not that much different from the athletic world. I think we're all just really excited, and it's the start of a whole new world.
So you've done 3 drops now of new art.
Yes, sir.
And you're distributing them where?
I'm currently on OpenSea and Foundation and Rarible.
And have other athletes, contacted you about your path and like how they might get into this, whether it's art or something else?
Definitely, and I've been surprised to see how many athletes actually are already in the space. But yeah, I've been trying to onboard some of my swimming teammates, trying to educate them on blockchain and on the whole NFT ecosystem. It'll take some time, but we're getting there.
So, having worked on this panel for the last few years, one of the single most interesting things is, okay, where does this lead to? And what does this lead to that's new kinds of experiences? We're not just recreating trading cards, making them digital. There's a concept between ownership and the dynamic aspects of them. So just start with you, Scott. Like, what are novel experiences that Candy Digital is going to enable for sports fans because it's launching these products?
Our approach to the space is really to take the digital elements, all the different media that's available around sport, whether that's 2D imagery or video, data, audio files, 3D volumetric, bring those together in a really interesting and compelling way, but then overlay on top of that digital physical connectivity and digital experiential. And so if you think about the world of collectibles, our view of that is that's really about storytelling and identity. It's really how fans identify with the sports they love, the teams that they love, the athletes that they follow, and it's about creating their own story as a fan, connecting to that community and to that tribe, and following the stories of their teams and being part of that community in a broader sense. And so the really exciting thing from our perspective is that NFTs really provide multiple ways to engage. And so, not just the digital form of a physical trading card, but something that can have dynamic data, that can change over time, that can reflect an athlete's performance on the field. Whenever people engage with those NFTs, when they open them up, they can be different because the athlete either has a new personal achievement or the team just won a game. And so that idea of surprise and engagement and connectivity, and then overlaying on top of that, gamification, right? So when you start to create dynamic assets and they start to reflect real life, it's really easy now to sort of create contests to challenge your friends or your community with your collection versus their collection, and then win rewards for that engagement and participation. That starts out on your phone and your computer screen, but we really believe the big opportunity is to really bring that to the ballparks, to the arenas, and sitting at home watching the game. And so we don't see it as a replacement to what fans are doing. We see it as a really important sort of connective tissue and way to enhance that fan experience over time.
Yeah, if I can add to that, because I agree with Scott, what he said there. So at Turner Sports and Bleacher, we obviously have a lot of distribution touch points in which we are looking to make sure that as the fans engage in those touch points, as the fans engage with the sport that they love, that you can see the sort of impact that will have on the NFT. And so that NFT can evolve in terms of how you'll be engaging with that. And that's how we're looking to look at the sport as more holistic, because right now what you see is that people are watching things on TV and then everyone's building NFTs separately. As a sports fan, I want to be able to have my experience integrated. I don't have to say, hey, my NFT is separate from me of what I'm doing and watching and experiencing on either the live show or somewhere else. And so what we're looking to do is make sure that that's a seamless process across the whole ecosystem.
So you got some of the best sports rights in America. You got the Final Four, you have the NBA playoffs, you have Inside the NBA, you have a bunch of baseball, including LCS. You have this great golf match coming up. How does that fit in? How does that create extra value for what you're doing, and how does what you're doing sort of strengthen the offering of the network?
No, absolutely. And so as we continue to bring these, build these interactive experiences, we'll be leaning into our partnerships, our league partnerships, to make sure, as we mentioned, that experience is holistic. We want to make sure that as you play within Block League games, you will see your athletes continue to evolve as we lean into a lot more of the experiences that we're doing with our league partners. So for us, it's exciting to really bring this additional extension to a lot of our league rights and league partners.
Scott, it starts with fiat, right, for sports fans. I mean, one of the things that's really important is a lot of sports fans just don't understand all the minutia that we're going to spend 3 days here talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So on a lot of these NFT marketplaces, you can imagine, they're not really exposed, or they don't own digital assets, they don't own crypto. So on our side, being able to enable these fans, these customers to pay in fiat and credit card for these NFTs, for these assets is definitely crucial. And to piggyback on what these guys said, the interactiveness of what, for example, Dak Prescott recently released NFTs. You're able to, if he had a QBR less than 65, his NFT is turned cold. If he has a QBR of over 85, it turns hot. So this interactive nature and being able to enable experiences for fans is something that I think is going to change the way brands look at marketing and the way athletes look to engage with their fans. Imagine if, I know Stephen A. Smith, I was watching SportsCenter earlier, said that he thinks the Cowboys are the favorite to make it to the Super Bowl in the NFC. Imagine if, Boo is right, Boo is right. but just imagine if Dak is able to embed that if we do make it to the Super Bowl, the jersey that I wear that day, that fan that buys that NFT has access to that jersey. That in itself, it just creates a whole new dynamic for athletes, for brands, and engaging with the fans.
So Calvin, so Sam was talking about athletes interacting with their fans. If I followed you, at least in the world that I grew up in, I'd watch you swim, I might read an article about you, but I'd have no ability to connect with you at all. what, through the NFTs, the artwork, through your YouTube videos, your presence on a bunch of different networks, how do people interact with you? Is that part of something that they get by buying your art?
Yeah, so, you guys have touched on such beautiful points already. This whole idea of building the community through NFTs is kind of what got me so excited. Traditionally, we have so many agents and managers involved in these things when you're dealing with brands and whatever it may be, that I feel like the authenticity of that relationship from athlete to fan is often, there's a disconnect. So what really excites me about blockchain and with the chance now with NFTs to create utility, or as you mentioned, John, maybe meetups with fans if they own NFTs, or perhaps one-on-one coaching sessions, or the opportunity to get, as you mentioned, like the jerseys and things. All these things together, I think, are really just going to strengthen that relationship between athlete and supporter. And not only that, it's also going to give them a chance to learn more from you and have these interactions. So things are still early. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to build my community. That's definitely my priority. But yeah, just as a whole, I think cutting out unnecessary amounts of people and having that direct communication with your fans and with people that engage with your content that's priceless. So yeah, I'm
I
excited.
think there's two things about that I think are important, right? One is democratization of access. And so, traditionally getting access to a private event to meet an athlete one-on-one or whatever, a lot of that comes with like who's willing to write the check, right? Or what role do they play and how do they get that special access? And so, ownership of NFTs creates an opportunity for the everyday fan either to unlock that, right, through a reward structure, or really be rewarded for their participation. Because it's a digital asset, right, you can see who owns those NFTs, who's active in trading them, who's the biggest collector out there, who's at the stadium, who's watching the games. And so that direct relationship and that democratized access to the real fans is really important. And then I think on the flip side of that, for the athlete, the transparency of really understanding who are these folks, right? And yeah, they may follow me on Twitter or show up in my Discord, but what's a way to really start to track what that fan base looks like, what they're looking for, how can I connect with them much more directly? So, it really works in both directions.
Yeah, 100.
I wanted
Young.
would add just to some of the things we're saying there in terms of like, I know everyone, coming to NFT NYCC conference, everyone's sort of into NFTs. There's a lot of work that we need to do to get there. And one of the things that Sam and I were just talking backstage is the fact that the payment processing and having that happen, so that we can bring this to the masses is very important. And driving so that we can have that peer-to-peer interaction so that everyone gets an opportunity to own, everyone gets an opportunity to sort of play within this space is going to be critical for us as we continue to move to the next stage. It's one of the things that we're working with in terms of Block League Games, in terms of how do we make sure that we empower the users within the space, even beyond those who really are native and know NFTs.
You sit, Scott, like right in the middle, though, where you're dealing with both leagues and athletes, and what there's a lot made about athletes can go direct to their fans now, but your thesis is that fans want the athlete in the uniform if they can have him, right? Or have her.
Yeah, one thing we've certainly learned building this business is that licensing and rights management is a very complicated space. And so our approach to everything that we're doing from a product design perspective, a user experience perspective, and a partnership perspective is what does the fan want? And the fan doesn't really care who owns what rights. They don't really care, at the end of the day, ultimately at the end of the day, who wins and who loses. What they care about is who's that team, who's that athlete, and how do I connect to them more directly in the uniform, on the field, playing the game. And so, that's really what we're trying to do is we're trying to build the business around that fan experience and that collector experience.
And that's a wrap for us. So thanks to Calvin, Sam, Yang, and Scott, and we hope you guys enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.